In this video, we'll be going over how to use a program called Filezilla, which can be downloaded for both Linux and Windows to be able to visually transfer files from the display to your host computer, in this case Windows, or the virtual machine if you decide to install Filezilla in Linux. So Filezilla is just really a way that'll speed up allowing you to get files from the display to your computer or vice versa. So the first thing we need to do is make sure the display is connected to your host computer and you're able to get an IP address on the display and connect to it via Ethernet. So if you don't know how to do that or it's not done, please go watch the videos about getting an IP address to your display, how to correctly hook it up, and then how to use PuTTY to confirm that you can actually connect to the display. So in this case, my display right now, I'm using a VA display, an ARM-based display, but again, the process will work for any of our displays. So the IP address of my display is 192.168.0.26. I'm using SSH, and I can use PuTTY and confirm that yes, I can connect to the display. So I log in as root, and then susroot is the password, and I can see some files in the op directory through the Linux bash script in PuTTY. Okay, so now I'm gonna just open up the website here and type in Filezilla so we can see, and I'll create a link as well in the description of this video. But really what we want is just this Filezilla, the free FTP solution, and you're just going to go download Filezilla client. You do not need the server, you just want the client. And so it's auto detected my machine is Windows 64-bit, so I've already downloaded this and installed it, so I'm not going to do it again, but you would just go ahead and download here and then install in your Windows machine just as you would any other Windows program. And you'll see down here as well, there's more versions, or the program can be downloaded in Linux or Windows 32-bit or Mac OS. So if you want to install this in the virtual machine, please go watch the video about installation of third-party programs in the virtual machine. It'll go over how best to do that. Okay, so once we have it downloaded and installed, you should be able to see it in your programs list. So mine, it's in commonly used, but also down here, Filezilla FTP client. So obviously once you've installed it, it should appear here just like any other Windows program. Let's go ahead and open this up, and we'll expand it a bit just so we can see here. So on this side, we have our PuTTY terminal, which is already connected to the display. And on the left side, we have Filezilla here. So I'll go ahead. Okay, so to connect to an SSH client or server, I guess, using Filezilla, we are going to type in the IP address of your display and the host name. So the host for me is 192.168.0.26. Same as we typed over here. The username is root. The password is susroot. And the port is port 22. So that is the SSH port on, well, pretty much everything, but the displays, most importantly here. Okay, so once I hit quick connect, you can see it takes some statuses up here. So it says connecting, using password, and then finally it says connected, and it is looking at the current directory is root. So that is where we are here. So this is on the left side. We see files in my host machine. So in my Linux, or not, in my Windows system, we can see the files on the left side. So we can see that by looking on my desktop. What we're going to do in this video is we're just going to pick a file on my desktop. So we'll say we want to transfer this attested form.pdf file to the display. So we can open Filezilla, go to the desktop on the left, and see in the left side we have attested form.pdf. Okay, then in the right side we have the files on the display. So we've talked before about how the display file directory is set up. If you are not familiar with that, please go see the Linux overview and the display overview video, which goes over a little bit about the display file system and how it's set up. But for the purpose of this video, what we need is, what you need to know is that the opt directory is the user directory in the display. So everything, all the other directories in the display are write protected, which means you can't pull off files or write to them without overwriting that protection. In another video, in the Linux video about common Linux commands, I go over how you can overwrite that protection, but the opt directory is the user directory and has no protections on it. So this is also where, as you create programs in Linux, Qt, Code Assist, they're all located in the opt directory. So if we click here in this just root or backslash here, you'll see opt is listed down here, and we can double click that. And we can see the different files and folders in our opt directory, and these match up with what we see here in PuTTY. If we move to the opt directory in the Linux file system and then list them out, list out our directories and files in there, you'll see we have the Code Assist files.tar.gz, the Code Assist PDF viewer, there, so all of our files are here. So if we wanted to transfer a file from our Windows machine, our desktop, to our display, all we would need to do is, once we're in the correct directory on the display, just drag the file that we want to transfer from our Windows to our display, and you'll see it's moving up here and it says file transfer successful, and then it relists everything. So now you can see on the right we have this attested form.pdf in our opt directory. And if we go here in PuTTY and just list out the contents of the opt directory again, we can see that file has been added. So it's very easy. It's a program that allows you to transfer files back and forth without having to use Linux commands in a visual way. And vice versa, if we wanted to, for instance, take our Code Assist PDF viewer or log info, how about? So that's just a log file that I've used on the display to print out a simple log. So say we wanted to actually view that in Windows. So I'm on my desktop right now in my Windows machine, so I'm just going to take that file and drag it into my Windows machine, and it does the same. So here it is, log info, and now you'll see it on the desktop of the machine. And I can, open this file up with, it's a text file. So, but I can just use any text program and open it up and see the log that is printed. So that's about it. And as I mentioned, you can do this in Linux as well. If you're in Linux, I've created a video about transferring files to and from the virtual machine using Linux commands, but you can also install Filezilla in the virtual machine and just do it visually. Well, that concludes this video. Hopefully it was helpful, and tune in for other videos. Thanks.